never seen a smile so big on my little old lady's face until I tell her I'm going fishing all weekend. Pack up all of my bacon, I make plans for 7:45, and I swing around, pick up my date for the weekend. Some reason she seems to please when I'm leaving. There's something I'm missing when I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing.
There we are. How we doing, CFN? Good to see you, Sean. Nice to see you too, Adele. Steve Shaw's in the house. He'll be doing all the tagging. Thanks so much, Steve, ahead of time for that. Trisha Wallace is in the house. That's quite the muskie you caught, Trisha. Holy smokes. JR, right after this, I'm going to get to that thing that I promised that I was going to do. I've been busy last 3-4 days. Anyway, needless to say, everything took a back seat, but I will get to that. Lloyd's in the house. How you doing? Jason is backstage. James Shembry's watching. Joe Moore's in the house. What's up, Ed? Barry Tracci, good to see you folks. Hey, right on. Nice to see all of you here. Well, it's ladies' night, and I can't wait to have Yvonne on, as well as our guest for tonight, Sharleen LaValley. Holy smokes. Is she ever embarking on something really cool? She's going to be sharing that with us. Just a lot going on. I only have a couple of announcements. I know Yvonne has a couple, so I'm going to be real quick. This is the last night for the North Shore Tackle Contest giveaway. At midnight, it closes. So if you have a picture of North Shore, whether you're holding a fish, the product, you got swag on, by all means, please put it in the comments on the pin post, both on my own page, my personal page, as well as the CFN page. As I said, this will be the last night. We'll be announcing the winner coming real soon, because we got to make sure we tally up all the names, put them on a wheel, and we're going to spin it at some point to announce our winner. But North Shore Tackle, all you need to do, take a pic, take a video. It's really simple, and make sure it's posted. Everyone that went to the CFN retreat gets one entry already for all their thank you videos. So there's that. And I do believe Cameron Tate has a new recipe. So I believe next Thursday, don't hold me to it, but I believe next Thursday, Cameron's going to be joining us with that recipe. And I can't think of anything else. If any of you have anything going on, by all means, make sure you throw it in the comments. We like to share all the goings on in our community. And if I have forgotten something, because this head is empty, I beg your forgiveness, but make sure to put it in the comments so that we can share it with all of my. Peter DeSouza, how you doing, buddy? Yeah, busy. Yeah, I'll tell you, maybe on the phone, Pete, I'll give you a shout. Norm Heyman's in the house. How you doing, buddy? Kevin Lowen, nice to see you as well. We've got some new names here. Frank Thurston. Hi, Scottie and Yvonne. Right on. Mad Camp Plastic. Yeah, baby. Nice to see you. Good bunch of you here. Well, as I said, before further ado, let's bring in our guest hosts. But before we do that, we definitely need a word from our sponsor. That is a hard.
Oh, I'm here.
Hey, is that not a hard video? We absolutely love that video.
Usually I'm kind of bopping away in my chair here.
Right? Yeah, it's no shame in that, but no pressure. It is a full house, Yvonne. We got a lot of folks online here. Ron Shirley, how you doing, buddy? Tony's in the house. Todd, how you doing, my friend? Needless to say, you've told me many times how excited you are about tonight's guest. If you're excited, I'm excited. There is a lot going on with Sharleen, and there's a backstory that is like the size of War and Peace. So unfortunately, we don't have that kind of time. We're definitely going to dive into it head first, but I know you have a couple announcements that you want to mention first.
Yeah, I just want to, well, first, hello, Scottie, and to everyone else, and thanks for joining us. We are starting, Ontario Women Anglers is putting together some in-person events now. We do, of course, require everybody that's vaccinated, but we have some things coming up. We have a Christmas lunch and sort of a Secret Santa exchange on December 4th. That's a Saturday. We're holding it up in Barrie. I'll post the links to it later on. We also have our first weekend ice fishing trip. It's going to be at the same place we went to 2 years now, I guess. It was, it's just south of Perry Sound. And I think we have about 7 spots for that. They can go up on the Thursday night if they wish. It's optional, but then, you come Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we take off on Sunday. And it's not open yet, but will be open tomorrow. We already have our September trip booked. We're going to Beechwood Hollow Resort on Stokoe Lake. Oof. And that's September 22nd to 25th. So we're just asking for deposits now, but that's that weekend is booked. And again, we're having 40. We have 40 spots. And so we try to do a different location in Ontario every year. But with regards to Sharleen, I met her. She's been a member, I think, for a couple of years now of OWA, and she came up to French River when we were there in September. And I'd never met her in person, but she was in one of the cabins that we're all kind of chatting away. And there's, 8 or 10 of us. And she's talking about her uncle, and she's talking about different things, initiatives she's involved with. And she was talking about this work she does. It's research on the American eel and how they're trying to help increase numbers. And she had the entire room silent. Like there was not a peep. And we were all listening to her. And I was just like gobsmacked at, what she's involved with, the information she shared. And I said to her, I said, do you want to be on this show? Would you be my guest on the CFN live show? And she's like, oh yeah. So we've chatted back and forth and then we have her for tonight. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. She's got a ton of information. I'm sure there'll be like a part 2 of this interview that she'll come back hopefully and tell us whatever else she's involved with.
That's awesome. Before we do, there's a couple of things that I did want to mention. And when I saw his name just pop up, I wanted to make sure that we paid our respects to Richard Elliott Sr. I know Richard is with us. Our thoughts and prayers go out with you, who unfortunately lost your father. And of course, Jim McLaughlin might be showing up tonight, hopefully to give us a little bit of an update on Tammy. She's not out of the woods yet, but she's in a lot better shape than she was. Mm-hmm. So Jim is definitely thankful for all of the thoughts and prayers from all of you folks. It's what's getting him through because it ain't sleep. I don't think the man has slept more than 3 hours this whole weekend. So for all of you that did pay your respects to Richard as well as Jim, thanks, guys. Thanks for doing that. Really appreciate it. And Richard Elliott Sr. will sorely be missed. Right on. Well, without further ado, I think it's important that we bring on this guest who has been waiting very patiently in the background, and she has lots to say. So I'm going to bring her in, and you can introduce her. Mm-hmm. This is Sharleen LaValley.
Hey, Sharleen. So I'm going to get you to introduce yourself and your companion there. But first, we want to know about the day that you fell in love with Gord Pizer.
What an unfair way to start, but it's a pretty known fact that yes, I love Gord Pizer. I mean, who doesn't? He's there he is. I actually had the privilege of meeting these guys. I thought it was Muskie Odyssey, but it was actually the Sportsman Show years ago at a Muskie workshop. So, but afterwards, being eager and wanting to go up and ask these guys lots of questions, we started to talk about fishing muskies from the east side of the Ottawa River into Algonquin Park area. And so that initiated the conversation with Gord about him doing his post-grad in Algonquin Park, which of course led into lake trout fishing, which is my thing. I love lake trout. And so it's interesting because, to have such a guru like him, I mean, his nickname is the doctor, because he just intertwines all this scientific things in our environment that are very important for fishing and the things that we have to really look at. Mm-hmm. And then just the time on the water and the experience and his background was amazing. So I found it really interesting because I come from the old school way of fishing with these steel lines and what works and we use that and we harvest that way and we're always successful. So, I would always feel a little self-conscious because I'd walk with my little Tupperware this big with like Williams spoons in it and a few, chumming things for the Williams spoons. And you always feel kind of inadequate hopping on somebody's boat that has like a suitcase of all of these incredible baits. And, so it was funny because I kind of sheepishly kind of said, putting feelers out to see what he would have fished those lake trout for. And I said, the Williams spoon and, I like putting, like a white tube on there. And he was like just so supportive of that. And so I walked out of there pretty happy. And he told me a story about using Bondi baits. So out of that, I actually I put some white Bondi baits in my box. So, every time I use that, I always think of Gord. I just think that he promotes everything great by, he always has Liam with him. I have Kendra with me here. It's all about the future. It's all about the young people. And, I just have a lot of respect for him.
Mm-hmm. So can you just introduce yourself, give us a little bit about your background and introduce Kendra, please?
Yep. So I'm Sharleen LaValley and I have a background in fisheries and I teach right now actually in the schools and stuff. And I've taken contracts doing, like you'd said, the eel population surveys and the sturgeon in the Ottawa River, which was an incredible opportunity. It's great. I mean, I love eels. I think that they're one of the most incredible species. They're absent in numbers now. We know why, and the initiatives are there now to start to rebuild those populations. And quite honestly, Mother Nature will take its course. We can't really build habitat for them, but we have to just create these safe passages and up and down, and they'll take care of the rest. So I'm looking forward to the future generations that we're going to see those eels back in these systems and stuff. So, we're doing a lot. Like we're going to talk about Frankie Kuyak and the initiative that we're doing. We're doing a CBC documentary on Frank, the Last Guide. And so Kendra I've brought Kendra into the movie with us to be able to show the generational passing of knowledge from, generation to generation. And I've been super fortunate to have Frankie, for these years, just like the pictures there, like doing these shore lunches, just having a great time and to be able to share that knowledge with the new people and women on our, the Ontario Women's Angler. I mean, it's just a great opportunity to share with everybody. Mm-hmm. So that's what yeah.
Now, in case perhaps there's people out there that don't know who Frank is, I did manage with Yvonne's help to steal an interview that was done, I believe, with CTV News. So have a listen to this, because I'll tell you, what this man has seen and done will blow you away.
I just love the outdoors. I mean, I hate to be caged, and this is a good place to be.
On the water, one with nature. It's the only place Frank Kuyak ever wants to be. He's been on the lakes of Algonquin Provincial Park since the age of 8, when some tourists asked him to show them the best fishing spots.
The oars were as heavy as I was. But anyway, I rowed them around, and I made more money rowing them around. My dad did as a foreman from a Gray Lumber Company.
$3 a day isn't much by today's standards, but in 1944, it was. These days, he doesn't do it for the money, although he could make a fortune when you consider his client list.
I guide Michael Douglas and his wife every year for the last 7 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Yeah. They have a cottage in Quebec.
He's also guided a former Mexican president and the cast of Bonanza. If you don't know the show, just ask your parents. But his biggest challenge may have come in the form of this reporter who had an embarrassing confession. 42-year-old Canadian and never been in a canoe. Does that just give you the greatest joy
step
ever?
in the center.
Step in the center, all right. Frank says on his watch, no city slicker has ever tipped his canoe. He wasn't going to let me be the first. I think I've been doing pretty good for never being a canoe.
Oh yeah, he's watching my paddle.
Now I did offer to help. He just said it'd be easier if I didn't. For 75 years, Kuyak has paddled, portaged, and pioneered through the provincial park. He's seen so much change here. Not all is for the better.
Just warmer climate, The water is warmer now, and then weeds are spreading out from the shore out farther out in the lake.
Kuyak says he spends too much time picking up garbage on his travels through the park, blaming careless visitors. He wants these lakes to still be around for his great-grandkids, and he thinks people will appreciate this place if they just come visit.
Get off your ass and go out and come and see Algonquin Park. What a beautiful country we got, you know.
A tough love message from a man who's poured so much of his love into this park. Mike LeCouture, Global News, Algonquin Park.
Wow.
Get off your arse and get out there. I love it. Absolutely love this man. Wow. It's I'm sure it's pretty difficult looking back and seeing your uncle, unfortunately, who is no longer with us. But I'll tell you, what an impression he's left with you.
Yeah, he really has. He's made an impression on lots of people, and so some really incredible artists have wanted to capture the essence of this legend. And so Ron Corbett, he wrote 2 books on Frank Kuyak, The Last Guide and The Last Guide's Guide, and it's pretty cool. I mean, I have lots of people ask questions, and to be honest with you, I know this is a terrible thing to say, but I was always with Frank, so I've never read the books myself. But you know, I know it's funny, and I think about that sometimes. But I know that there will be a time when all this, because we've been filming this movie and stuff, and it's been kind of a difficult process to try to figure out how to you know, to have that absence. This spring was pretty tough when Frank didn't come home. And so it's, I think one day I'll sit on an island somewhere out in one of these lakes that we loved, and I'll read those books, and I'll have some pretty good chuckles with it. Mm-hmm. Christian Gomez is the producer right now who's filming the CBC documentary that should be out right in the beginning of the new year. And basically, he read those books. So he's a guy that loves to come to Algonquin Park too. And he read those books, and he was fascinated, and he wanted to capture that story and to know that person in this documentary, which was fantastic. So 5 years later, it was just going, and unfortunately, Frank's health was failing, and you know, this movie is just going to really show determination and pride and dignity and just like an unbelievable human being. Sometimes, like, I just think, you know, we would be on trips, and this is after he's had, you know, lots of treatment, you know, with cancer and stuff like that. And we would be going in the bush, and I'd be like, wow, like this guy's doing this because it's fun, right? And you know, you're dredging through, and And so like that attitude that you saw in that article or that last in the clip, you know, to get off your butt. Like, I mean, he was that guy. He just set the bar so high on determination and resilience. And funny enough, I'll use the word resilience because it led to the next story of Wayne Simpson, who did these incredible photos. I mean, just, you know, the photos were amazing. And it's a funny story because Wayne Simpson, you know what I find actually really funny? I thought about this today. And knowing the artists now and how Frank affected them, to me is what's really fascinating, because I've talked to all of them now, and to hear how, you know, Wayne would describe what he feels and what he's learned about Frank and how Frank inspired him personally. And to hear some of the things that they say. So it was like an alien invasion. I'll never forget, because I was the grunt labor in the other canoe. And the way Frank and I have the canoes, like Frank always set the canoes up is with, you would row them, right? So you could troll, you could do everything, but you can shoot across a lake with these oars, like unbelievably. So I had all the camera crew here, and Wayne Simpson was sitting with Frank. So some of those are gorgeous pictures. Like I look at them and, you know, I can see that day perfectly. And that picture of Frank and I we were sitting there watching these guys going all over the place, and you could see all the lights going off this island, and we couldn't catch a fish that day. Holy mackerel. We couldn't catch anything, and we needed something for the film. So Frank and I were just sitting there, and we just decided we just left them on the island. We went fishing, right? And we got fish, and you know, I mean, it was a great thing. So Wayne Simpson, I saw a quote. I read something about him, and it was interesting because he said he gave himself permission to once he saw people's face and he could see the stories behind them, he wanted to capture this light and this, you know, people's incredible, you know. So a friend of his got guided by Frank, and anybody that's been guided by Frank will tell you the funniest stories, because like there was no negotiation in that canoe. Like you were just going in the canoe, and he would tell you how it was, and he would bring you on the best adventures in the world. And so what happened was Wayne Simpson saw a picture of Frank. That picture there it's actually very sad for me. He came back very sick, and he was on those snowshoes. I said to him, it was February, and I said, you know, geez, I need some minnows. And you know what? As sick as he was, we loaded up the snowshoes, chainsaw, and he brought me into this lake to show me how to chainsaw through ice and on those angles to be able to slip that underneath so the big block would stay there. And, you know, I mean, like I said, he was just this incredible person. I hopped over from Wayne Simpson. I actually have notes. You know, I get going and I swim like a salmon up a river.
Yeah.
But so Wayne Simpson has a book out also called Resilient, and Frank is featured in there. And, you know, so to see these guys capture this legend is amazing. And the Friends of Algonquin Park, so Frank and I spent a lot of time in the canoe. And, you know, he told me lots of great stories. And, you know, he'd always said over and over and over again, he wanted to donate his pack, an axe that he had been using since the 40s, and one of his old steel line rods to the museum at the visitor center in Algonquin Park. So this spring, he was sick, and we knew that, you know, things weren't going well. And Frank had received the Director's Award from Algonquin Park for his big contribution to Algonquin Park. And that comes with all kinds of volunteering of time. He would volunteer and donate guides. He did the Whitefish Rock Bass Derby. It's a family derby where us guides would go in with our boats, and people would just line up, and Algonquin Park would provide the fishing. You know, most of us had all of the fishing tackle anyways to bring people out, and we would just pick up families, and Frank and I would be down on that beach, and we'd be just nonstop all day. But I mean, Frank and I would go in and pre-fish, and we'd have our little spots, but then the other guides would see us right there, sneaking into our spots when we were switching up families. But I remember him coming one year, and I mean, he was getting treatments, and he had cancer on the nose at that point with that treatment. And I said to him, Frank, I go, like, are you going to be able to do this? And I'll never forget, like, he just said, you know what, if I have to crawl, I'm going to be there. So he donated his time. He loved to bring people to here, where he just, he spent his life.
Wow. Incredible.
So how old were you when you started kind of spending time outdoors with him?
So Frank is a family of 16. So he has 16 siblings in his family, and his youngest sister, Marjorie, is my son's grandmother. So Frank is my son's great uncle. And so what happened, I was a police officer in Toronto, and so once my career was done there, my boys and I moved back here, and I found Frank to be like this fascinating guy, and I really wanted my sons to really, really know their uncle, because he was like, I was like everybody else. I was just like, taken back by this character. So we would go over to the house all the time, and I really try to engage my kids with Frank all the time. And we would sit over there, and I remember he had minnows. It's always funny, the Fisher people, like, you open the fridge and it's moving because you have a jar of minnows. Right? So my kids love that. And so Frankie's sitting there with my biggest guy, Anthony, and he pretends to swallow a minnow, right? And it was super cute. And anyways, my son called him on it, eh? So then Frank, he just put a minnow right there on his mouth, and he sucked that minnow right back, right? So, he won me over. Listen, we adopted each other a long time ago, and it was funny. He would come and take Anthony to go fishing, and I was always like, I thought it was cool, and I was always putting them. And one day he says to me, he goes, "Why don't you come?" And I was like, okay, and then that was it. And we became like, he was my mentor. He was my uncle. He was my best friend. I spent so much time. We would start drinking that instant coffee at his place at 5:30 in the morning, and end nights here sitting on my deck, drinking tea, watching the sunset, and just talking, and it was a wonderful time.
Awesome.
And so now you have taken on a mentee, under your wing.
Yes.
Mentees and mentors.
I like it. A mentee. Yes. This is Kendra.
Kendra. Not a manatee, just a mentee.
Mentee. She's fantastic. She's quite the fisherwoman.
And Kendra, Kendra, did you have a chance to meet Frank? Or was
I've met him a couple times, and he was awesome. And I could just tell that he was really into fishing. And Sharleen's told me lots about Frank too. And I wish I got the chance to go fishing with him and enjoy that same experience Sharleen got to enjoy with him. So, yeah. And
so now you're spending a lot of time with Sharleen.
Yeah.
And she's passing on what she learned from Frank to you.
Yeah. And I've learned so many new things from Sharleen, and I've taken that on and showed my little brother new things about how to fish, and taking that.
And so where do you see maybe a career in the outdoors? Like, do you think you'll guide, or?
Yeah, I've actually really considered taking that into guiding, and maybe being like an outfitter, because I really enjoy fishing and hunting, and
Yes, and you hunt. That's what Sharleen was saying. What do you hunt for?
I hunt for deer and partridge, rabbits, and I haven't really got the chance to go for moose yet, but I'm hoping to do that with Sharleen sometime soon.
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. Yes, the mentoring never stops. The one thing that I have noticed through my years here in the industry is, just when you think it's over, it's not. It starts up again, and it's a beautiful relationship that you and Kendra have, Sharleen, that you can foster this kind of passion for the outdoors, not just fishing, but the outdoors. So I commend you on that, and it never ends. As we were mentored, we now mentor others. So it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. And we just started our mentor program again with Ontario Women Anglers, because it's something that we started and COVID hit, and then we had to kind of suspend it. So we definitely recognize that it's an important thing. I mean, I had my dad started me off, and then I had my friend Jason. He became my mentor for a long time, and then you pass the knowledge on, and that's really what it's all about. So Kendra, so do you have any like favorite stories of going out with Sharleen? Any big fish stories, memorable moments?
So I haven't really got to go out fishing with Sharleen a lot because it's been really busy. But when we filmed that the movie, I got to experience going on the lake fishing for pike, and it was a pretty rough day, but we still managed to catch a bass, and really enjoyed learning that experience with Sharleen and learning how to fish using suckers and just new skills. And yeah.
That picture, Sharleen, of you in the canoe, is that Frank's canoe?
That's my canoe. Frank set it up for me. Yeah. So all those canoes are set up like that. So that's, yeah, they're pretty amazing.
I personally love how it's back to the basics. Really, I mean, as you mentioned before we came on here live, that canoe, as you said, is set up, and Frank did this back in the day so that you could keep an eye on his clients. But it's back to the basics. It's so basic, yet it is so effective. This whole setup is brilliant.
Well, you can troll like amazingly with that, eh? So it's great.
And a lot of folks may not know, when it comes to Algonquin Park, there are so many portages. I think there's as many portages as there is water. So this is the best way to get around. And as I said, you've made it so simple. It's simplified that you have oars that you can row around, still fish without any problem. And as we have seen with some of your photos, you do have a habit of catching fish.
There is a habit. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell us too about why he's called the Last Guide?
Oh, yes. So, it's funny because we were at the family day, so the rock bass at Whitefish there. And I had just taken out a mother and her kids. And so we're sitting at the picnic table, and Frank is on his way over, and I had one of my business cards for guiding. And so Frank comes over, and I said, this is the last guide. And I said, but here's my card, right? Like, I'm a guide too. So, so Kevin Hines, who is a very good friend of Frank's and now mine also, he leans over to me. He says, Sharleen, do you know why he was called the Last Guide? I go, I don't know. I just thought that was like a great name for a book, right? So that's because he was the last issued guide license for Algonquin Park, which is super cool. So yeah, that's the story of the Last Guide.
Wow. And so how many years? It was like over 70 years that he was guiding.
So yeah, so he he told in that last clip that you saw there, so that it was kind of a thing that just happened back in those days. I mean, when Frank and I were in the bush, he would talk about all the initiatives that they would back in those days just try to make money, from picking princess pine and selling it to the companies, to doing all that kind of stuff. So when the Americans just asked him to show him where the fish were, it fell upon him that was, he was making a lot of money doing that. So, I mean, there was lots of life in between there. There's, this is why, these artists have captured so much about Frank because of his, because of all the story in between there and now. I remember the producer said to me, I go, you know what? Like, people are asking me questions. They read the book and they ask me stuff, and I'm almost like, geez, I don't even know him. And the producer says to me, he says, when you guys are together out there, you're very present, because we spent so much time together. Like, I couldn't tell you sometimes what we even talked about. We just spent all that time and Frank was like, one of the things about him is that every fish he caught, And we were competitive. We were tough on each other. Like this, we didn't fool around. When it come to fish and pike, we didn't even use nets. And if one was catching one, remember, we're in a canoe catching big pike. We didn't fool around. Like you were casting, trying to get one at the same time, right? Because it was all about numbers. And he would look, his face, when he'd get those hits, because he has this little technique, and I think it's tell you in the book, according to everybody else, you know, about how you have to eat an apple once you get that first bang from that pike. You know, and he'd look at you like this, right? And his eyes would Google out, and I would know what was happening, right? So, you know, but it would look like the first fish he had ever caught in his life. And that's the passion. And that's what he would share with people. There was just like, he was trying to turn me into a guide, and he would try to put customers onto me. Nobody wanted to go with me. Like there was like, nobody wanted to go with me. Like there was he could not slide business my way because he was the last guy. And to go out with him was just this, you know, ridiculously amazing experience, right? Nothing ever went wrong, because if it did, he just fixed it. He just did, you know, he just made it all right, you know. And duct tape. I mean, duct tape was the big thing. He always checked my pack to make sure I had duct tape, because he would run rapids. Like he was ridiculous. He was like a teenager. He would run rapids in between lakes. And you would hear the canoe, like you'd like carry the pack, right? Like I would carry a pack, and he would just try to run it down, and you'd be hearing banging. It's like now I know why there's duct tape in these packs, right? But
unreal.
Well, did you have any other questions right now, Scottie?
I'm good. You've done a fantastic job. Holy smokes.
Every time we have a guest on, we do a little giveaway. I direct people to the website, and I'll post the link later on. But seeing that Christmas is coming up too, I thought for people to enter the draw, all they have to do is commit to making a donation to their local food bank of some sort of non-perishable food item. And the draw prize is going to be a copy of The Last Guide, along with one of our OWA buffs. So nice. I'll get that all set up, and I'll put the link up, and we'll do the draw on Friday. But I thought that this was kind of a nice thing to give away, and for people to learn a little bit more about your uncle and all the stories. Like apparently, I haven't read it. I bought both this and the other book for myself, and they're sitting on the coffee table. I haven't opened them yet, but it says it's quite a funny story as well. You know, just talking about all his adventures in Algonquin Park and all the people that he's met and whatnot. But I'm looking forward to reading it myself.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, listen, as always, Yvonne, you hit it out of the park with all of the guests that come on here. Sharleen, Kendra, thanks so much for spending a half hour with us and explaining to us who this incredible man Frank was. I've learned a lot in the last half hour about a man I wish I had met. It seems like he was quite the character, and will be sorely missed by his friends and family.
Mm-hmm. Thanks very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate you sharing the stories, and look forward to hopefully seeing you both on the ice soon.
Yep, I'll see you at the ice fishing. I'm hooked.
Yes, very sound.
Yeah.
Nice. Right on.
Great.
Well, take care, girls, and thanks so much for spending a half hour with us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.
Right on, Yvonne. Well, as I said, I don't know how you manage to do this every time you come on, but what a guest, what an endeavor, what a journey.
And
it's not over.
It's really exciting listening to her talk about this film that they're doing about him. And I'm looking forward to it. It's coming out, I believe she said spring or the new year, but and just, I'm looking forward to reading the book too. It's just, when she was talking about him up in French River, it was like, and she has such a incredible bond with him, and very, very nice to see how she's passing everything that she's learned onto this young lady.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Well, as always, thanks so much, Yvonne. We'll look forward to your giveaway and how we can enter. In the meantime, just keep doing what you're doing. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thanks. We'll see you soon.
Alrighty. Bye now. All right. And before we bring up the panel and start talking a little bit about HardWater, here is a message from our sponsor.
When it comes to Canadian food, we've got your back with flavors like lemon pepper, beer batter, campfire barbecue, lemon pepper dill, garlic butter and chives, and crispy Cajun. We've got a mix for every meal. Whether you're serving East Coast shrimp, West Coast salmon, succulent walleye, chicken wings, or veggies, we've got you covered. Coat your food in outdoor flavors. Available online or at these fine retailers.
Hey, boys, what's going on?
Hey.
Right on, right on. I wasn't 100% sure, but as I said, the show isn't over. We might be joined by our buddy Jim. If not, I'm sure the two of you would like to pass on your thoughts and prayers, and just how you feel, because I can imagine what Jim is dealing with, a little bit of stress when your significant other is hospitalized, and I'll let you guys take it from there.
Yeah, I've sent Jim a couple texts the last couple days, just thinking about him and Tammy, and I couldn't imagine going through that. So, just keeping him in our thoughts and keeping her in our thoughts, and yeah, it's all we can do is just stay positive, right?
100%. That's literally all we can do. Lawrence, you go ahead.
Oh man, they raise kids, grandchildren. They work together. They live together. I mean, this is a couple that's together like 24 hours a day almost, right? There's not, and they've been doing that for what, 30, 40 years now?
Yeah.
They're a role model for every couple,
100%.
and left arm, right arm kind of thing. So I can appreciate, I mean, I'm there myself. I got kids and grandchildren. My wife works with me pretty closely. We both work out of the same house, and we haven't killed each other. It's been 20 years. So it's going pretty good, but I can totally appreciate it. Yeah.
As Barry mentioned, yes, she is one tough cookie. I would not want to double cross that woman by any means. What she's
but my kids love her. My kids love her. She did all that. She did that fish pond every year for like 25 years at the Ottawa Boat Show, and she ran the kids, the small children segment of that. And every little kid loved her. Every little kid loved her.
And really, honestly, if you ever meet the woman or get a chance to, what is there not to love?
I agree. It's tough. It's tough, but
we're talking HardWater. We are, it's coming. I'm telling you, it is coming. The groundhog told me. HardWater is definitely going to be here before Christmas, which I think is a plus for everyone. The temperatures are dropping. The snow is just around the corner, and to our folks to the west, they're already dealing with it. I'm seeing pics already from the ice. So we're putting away the soft water gear. We're getting ready for the HardWater. As one of you mentioned, you've had an epidemic of mice, and these are some of the things that you definitely don't want to get out on the ice and find isn't in working shape. So some things that you can do to prepare yourself.
I think the message right now is, I'm not ready to put the soft water stuff away yet, but and I think if anyone saw the pictures in the last few days, that's obvious. But if for all of us that are avid anglers out there, especially a lot of the ones listening to this show, you got to spend some time getting ready, and especially with the way things have been with the pandemic, I hate to bring it up, but we got to be prepared, be ready. Don't expect things to be necessarily available to you, and we need to be ready with what we got. So we were talking offline today, Lawrence, myself, and Scottie and Jim, about this is just a good time to get prepared. Even for me living here down in the banana belt of Ontario, we're hoping for ice, and let's be prepared and not wait for the last minute to get ready. So for example, I was charging up my batteries last couple days. I switched these out. If anyone wants a tip, go to lithium batteries. These are going to save you. They're a little more expensive than lead acid. They last probably 3 to 4 times as long. And I think let me think now. So that's the lifetime of the battery, but also in terms of just use, you're going to go anywhere from what used to be 16 hours on a lead acid to about 40 to 45 hours on a lithium, depending on the electronics that you're using. But you got to keep them charged and take care of them. So I actually use these in the summer a little bit too. We were using them in Trevor's kayak for his fish finder. but we keep them topped up for the winter. Shout out to Vexlar. I put a post up today for them. Trevor's FL20, which is my old FL20 flasher, had an issue with it, sent it in to them. It's on its way home from Wisconsin today, and it's all fixed up. And they had an issue with the flasher with the, I'll show you guys here, with the FL. This is my FL28. But what happened to the FL20 was some of the magnets inside the FL20 had become disconnected. Somebody might have dropped his flasher last year, landing a big crappie on the ice. The guys at Vexlar, and I'm not sponsored by them. I just support a good product, guys. And I actually video called Matt Waldron, who's one of their pro staff and is one of their techs at the time. He's like, yeah, just a loose magnet, ship it in. Took the head unit off, shipped it off 2 weeks ago. It took a week to get there. It's on its way home. So we'll be ready. Electronics are ready. So, and Lawrence,
I have some like that with my Lawrence fish finder. You know, when you have that transducer down the hole that you're fishing in, and then you got a big fish and you pull that transducer out and with one hand and you're fighting the fish with the other hand, it's super important that you don't drop the thing on the ice. And I had that happen to me, and then the transducer would bug out after about 5 minutes. And then finally someone said it probably got dropped in the ice. It's just messed up. So I bought a new one, $100, and it's fine. It's absolutely fine. So there is for sure ice kills electronics, but banging. Geez, and what do you think? Like I heard lithium batteries though, they don't like extreme cold and they crap out in extreme cold. So how does that work?
Well, I find the lithium batteries last longer in the extreme cold, but I'm not necessarily in the extreme cold the whole day. So when I have them in my flasher, I'm usually in a heated hut. And even when I'm not using the hut, let's say it's like -5 or -10 without a lot of wind, I'll fish outside. Last year was my first year using the lithium batteries. Never had an issue with them.
Cool.
Easily get 2 full days of fishing out of them. I was really impressed with them. So I can't say enough good things about them. And there's a bunch of different brands out there. I've been using the Vexlar one just because that's what I own is Vexlars. I wanted to make sure those batteries fit inside of the unit that I was using because Vexlar's cases are kind of custom made for Vexlar batteries and flashers. But yeah, they've been fantastic. Never an issue with them.
Oh, that's good.
So I've always thought when I see folks doing videos, and just as you had mentioned, you know, they're pulling the transducer out of the hole. I equate that to folks that are in the middle of an intersection and take the time to beat their horn because someone's pulled out in front of them. How they manage to do that. Maybe I'm just not good at doing 2 things at once. I don't know. To me, I'm trying to drive to avoid the accident, not create it. But same with the transducers. It's always awesome when your partner or whoever's with you pulls that out for you because once you're hooked up, you're focused on getting the fish.
Yeah, there's a comment in the chat here from Curtis. He mentions about using a separate hole, and I do recommend using a separate hole. So typically, what I'm doing is to save you lifting your transducer out of the hole, typically what I'll do is I'm usually using 2 rods. So I'll actually pop 3 holes close together. I'm using a K-drill. If I'm crappie fishing or bluegill fishing, it's just 6-inch K-drill. So I'll put 3 holes literally side by side. So my flasher's down the middle one. And then what I want is I still want my baits as close to my transducer as possible to get my readings on the transducer. So that's definitely a good tip is to not always use the same hole.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's just how it goes. And sometimes things get caught up and sometimes people get excited and things happen. And Lawrence's point about transducers is a good one. Transducers, when they go on you, they go. You don't even know they've gone. You've dropped it. Something's happened. There's usually no visible signs that they've gone.
No.
I've had transducers go on me. They usually only last 4 to 5 years of use. And, you know, should you buy a spare one? I don't think you need to, but definitely take your transducer out, even to a dock. You open water before things freeze over and just make sure it seems to be working okay.
Yeah.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Now,
you got to get a part
batteries,
now. Yeah.
Those lithium batteries, do you need a special charger for those? This is a good question by Steve.
Yeah. So that's a good question. So why I picked the Vexlar lithium batteries is because they were compatible with the chargers that I already had for the unit. So what Vexlar did is they built their battery. So most lithium batteries have a circuit board inside, and you can see a little adapter on top there. They built the battery to fit their charger that they were using for their lead acid batteries. So that's a smart design. I think it saves anglers having to buy extra parts. But yeah, for the most part, you need to buy the proper charger. But there's so many good battery options out there. Like I know I was on the Radio World website recently. Like Dakota Lithium is a good battery, I've heard. And there's also some Canadian ones, and I don't remember offhand. But I'll try and dig those up and share them. But you do need to get your own separate charger. But they do last so long. Like what's nice is if I go away ice fishing for a weekend, this battery is going to run my flasher for about 40 hours of fishing time. That's incredible.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
that camp and the weight.
Oh yeah, about 30%. Sorry, yeah, it's about 30% the weight of the other battery. So you're saving like literally like you go from 5 pounds down to about 1.5 pounds. It's amazing.
Gel filled. I actually not 100% sure I know what a gel filled battery is. But John is suggesting that it's the best for cold water or cold weather.
Yeah, and they are. They're better than lithiums if you're just using them in the cold. So if you're actually just out in the exposed cold all the time, but I don't know, as I get older, I tend to get a little softer, right? So I like my heat. I got my buddy heater. You know, I've upgraded to insulated hubs versus non-insulated. Like a lot of us make these transitions. And so like last year we had our Eskimo 450 hub. And why I bought the 450, one reason, full size door. I'm 6'3". I can walk straight into that hub. I don't have to crawl in the corner of an Otter or another brand. And so that's why I bought it. And so my batteries are around, they're basically heated all day. Now, if I really want to keep my batteries warm, I will bring a small cooler pack. Like I actually have a small cooler bag, and I'll use those little hot pockets and put one on my battery. If I'm going to be out hole hopping all day and it's very cold, you can do that to prolong the life of your battery. But once you get set up in your shelter, you can keep them warm in there.
John asked a great question, and I'm going to pose it to both of you because we have a special guest that just came into the backstage who we're going to get to momentarily. But I'll ask both of you this: flasher or sonar?
Ooh, that's tough.
Or
beeper.
Both. Or both.
I like the ones. I have a talking depth sounder, so I hook that up to my NMEA output on my Lowrance. Right. And that's cool. And it beeps. It gives me 3 different types of beeps, and it tells me the depth I'm in. So that I like that. So flasher, I'm the wrong guy to ask that question, but I know just from the people around me, like I bring my Lowrance and the people love to look at that. They love to look at that. I'm fine. I just like fishing. And do they catch more fish than me? If they're really good at it, if they're really paying attention. But my job is to distract them as much as possible. So at the end of the day, I've caught more fish than them.
So flasher versus basically you're talking about liquid crystal. So you have a liquid crystal display. Now some liquid crystal displays like Lowrance, Humminbird, Garmin, they have a flasher mode. Okay. And Ed hit it right here. Ed beat me to the comment. A flasher is real time. So when you're moving your bait with a flasher, the technology of a flasher with the FLX28, it has these little LEDs that are spinning around, okay? And it gives you real time. There's no delay, okay? But so that is a pro. So when you jig your bait, you get instantaneous reaction. A fish moves towards it, instantaneous reaction. The difference, though, with a liquid crystal display, especially if it's a graph, like what John's asking about, is what you'll see a series of lines. So your bait will be aligned, okay? And you'll see your bait is a line, and then your fish is a line, and they kind of meet up, just like in a flasher. But there's a delay. When you jig your bait, it's not instantaneous. So for some fishing applications, a flasher is really good. It's kind of like what you get used to, because I don't think there is a right or wrong here. I think that if you like a flasher, which I've been using a flasher for 20 years, that's what I'm used to. But the liquid crystal, what is nice about it though, with that delay, it actually has memory because you're seeing it on the screen. So fish comes in, fish leaves. If I'm not staring at that flasher, I see a fish come in and go, there's no memory that fish was there. That's the difference, you know. And then we get into Christina just put. I was going to bring that up.
Exactly.
Flasher or live scope.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, basically you have, so there's flashers now. You have your liquid crystal display or your graph, and then you have live scope, okay, or real time video, and it basically functions like an ultrasound, right? It gives everything in real time. And I think what happens is you just have to do what you can to afford, like
$3,000, $3,000. That's
okay.
Yeah.
I know. Like, hey, listen, I've played around with all of them. They're all fantastic. For example, if you buy a graph with liquid crystal display, most of them have GPS in it now. So you can know, you can not only.
I do.
Yeah. So you can mark
handy.
your spots as well as fish for them. I don't have GPS in my Vexlar.
No.
I use my Navionics on my phone, right? So it's kind of what you have and what you want to outfit yourself with. Can you with live target, I think it's a great tool, but it takes so much interpretation, and it's a big investment. Spend the time with it. I'm going to tell you right up now, spend the time with learning it. But I think with ice fishing, the learning curve is less steep, because when you put that unit straight down, it gives you that cone straight down. It's pretty easy to interpret. Where I've had challenges with interpreting it is when it's pointing away from the boat on that angle, and you have to interpret what those fish are doing. But when it's straight below you, it's pretty easy to interpret. But it's a huge investment to make that jump. And I'm not there yet. I'm with
you. I got to ask this man. Jim, welcome to the show. How you doing?
What's going on, guys?
Hey, buddy.
Flasher or sonar?
Oh, it'd be a flasher all the way.
Like
all the way. It's not even debatable. I don't think it's just one of those things. The LED things are, to me, it's kind of like old fashioned almost, although a flasher is older.
Yeah.
The LED thing, you know, we're back to the old squares that I always talk about. You know what I mean? With making squares. The LED thing is not, it just doesn't fish like a flasher does. Like the real time thing. You know when you really realize it? When you have a camera down and you have a camera watching the fish come at your lure, you're watching it on a flasher and you're watching on the camera, and you lift your lure and you see it go up on the camera. You put your lure down, you see it go down on the camera. If that was an LED, when you were watching the LED, you'd lift it up and go, "Hey, that's funny. My jig moved, but it doesn't show on the screen." And that's, you know, that to me is the whole thing. And it's like that people don't realize when you see a fish, they always show the fish is coming up. He's usually not coming up. He's coming into the cone, shortening the distance, and people don't understand that. They see the number get, you know, like the number changes, and they think because the number he's coming up, but he's actually coming in to the cone because of the angles. It shortens it up as he gets to the middle. When you like if you have a cone and you draw a line straight down the middle, and then you have the cone and you draw a line to the same depth, but it's like 6 feet over.
Yeah.
It's got to go down a lot further.
Yeah,
so
that line's longer. Yep.
The machine interprets it as a longer line. Hey, I can just hear Lawrence's flasher talking to him. You're in the wrong spot again.
No, I'm getting rid of that, Jim. I'm going to bring you with me.
Listen, I was just going to say, can we get Lawrence
neighborhood?
we need to get Jim to be the voiceover for Lawrence's flasher. That's what we need.
Yeah. I want Jim's voice on my Lawrence. There you go. You know, with all the
dummy, you're in the wrong spot. Set the hook, you turkey.
You idiot.
Oh my God, you're just more
that's great.
So yes, Jim, we're talking about ice fishing, but I think everybody in our CFN community would love to hear an update. Hoping for the best for Tammy. I know she's in a better place than she was a couple days back, but still not out of the woods. If you could just give us a quick update.
No, she's she's got as the doctor said, the wear on her arteries is just age. It just and you look at something with me with the shit that I've done to myself in my life, and they look at mine and go, geez, now we know why your heart only beats 58, 60 times a minute. Like I got a sump pump for a heart that's probably going to make me be 90 and crotchety, but
more crotchety.
I might bump into you again someday.
Yeah. You can get the upgrade for that Lowrance extra crotchety. They have it's like a Zoom
upgrade from pansy to pussy. Set the hook, turkey.
Well, that's good to hear, Jim.
Yeah, so she had a lot of stuff done to her today, a lot of tests. She texted me this afternoon and she said to me, I went and brushed my teeth, and then I had a 3-hour nap.
Oh.
So she's that's the problem with the heart stuff, eh? And but they did find out that a lot of the pain in her back is not related to this at all. She has a slip disc in the lower back.
Oh.
And she has one that's a little further up that's cracked. And for you guys out there and girls that don't know, Tammy used to skate in the ice capades. Like she was a wondrous ice figure skater. And when we lost all the weight a few years ago, she started back skating again. But she doesn't understand that at her age, you can't be doing, whatever they're called, because when you land on the ice, it hurts. And this happened about probably like the middle of August. She took spills 2 days in a row, and I'll guarantee you that's when it happened, because they said they both appear to be on the mend and healing, but that was what was causing the pain. So I'm figuring when she had the episode with her heart, she fell in the living room here, and she fell over the coffee table. I guess Steve kind of thought that, my neighbor, because he was here first, because I phoned him, because I was in Kingston at the gym when it happened, and he got her on her side. But I'm wondering if she aggravated it all when she fell on the table.
Yeah.
But she was, when he got here, she was out like a light. Like it was kind of weird to pull in the laneway and see your wife in an ambulance, and they got tubes and hoses and But the worst thing was at the ER. Somehow I got in. I don't know. They let me in, and it looked like they were filming a scene from a disaster movie. I couldn't believe it. I talked to my buddy Brian. He phoned me tonight. He's a paramedic too, and he knows Kingston well. And he asked me, how she was doing or whatever. And I told him, I said, well, there was a total of 11 ambulances there, and a lot of this is COVID related. And I really got irritated when I hear these people saying that, I was at my hospital and it wasn't busy. I thought they were filming a movie. I did not believe that this goes on like this. And I spoke to my buddy's wife, who works there, and she actually had some of the nurses go by and try to cheer Tammy up today for me. And it was so cool, because I said to her, I couldn't believe it. And she said, Jimmy, it's like that all the time now.
Wow.
And of course, Kingston, like the hospital's locked down. They have an outbreak in, of all places, I was told, the cardiac unit. So she can't get into the unit. They won't put anybody else in or anybody out. So they have to transfer her back and forth for everything. And but the hospital's locked down. There's no visitors. Kingston's numbers went way up today. And when Tammy had the stone procedure on Wednesday, she said to the lady in the hospital, last time when I had this done, there was like 6, 8, 10 beds in here. And she says, oh yeah, they have them all in emergency and in the COVID ward. But there's no problem. COVID's not real. Don't look at it. The next person that I hear say something like that, it's coming out.
Yeah.
I tell you, I told Brian, I said, I sat out in front of the hospital for about 5 minutes when I went out with my hands on the steering wheel like this, looking back in. And I couldn't believe what I was witnessing. It was just unbelievable. it's just like scary.
Unreal.
But hopefully she's going to be okay here. We'll get her healed up. And I just want to see her back home. But that's me. Like I had to Google today. How long do you have to microwave wieners? I sent you a text because I didn't want to blow them up or have them not,
Yeah.
And I sent her a text. He texted back after, really?
Well, you know, Jim, if you have a good Wi-Fi connection, like I think that just get Lawrence to come down and he can just move in for a few days.
There you go.
He's not far from you. I'm sure he can boil. I'm sure he can boil a wiener or two. Like you guys will be fine.
Can you imagine the reality show that would come out of that, J-Dog? Holy!
Oh, I'm coming too. I'm gonna bring my maid outfit.
I'll send you. It's priceless, eh? This happens. I get about 10 texts from people sending me pictures of very attractive women in maid outfits. If Tammy doesn't mind, we can send somebody over to do the cooking for you.
That is funny.
I'll tell you, I'm snickering now. Yesterday and Sunday, I was not snickering.
Yeah.
I was just bashed. Man, oh man, you just don't believe that something like this can happen.
I know.
You just don't believe that it can happen. And unfortunately, it wasn't an extreme incident. Probably doesn't have any damage to her heart. But the thing that's troubling the cardiac doctors is that they don't know why it happened.
Right.
That's really bugging them.
Yep.
They don't know why. And when it happened quick and severe. And I heard the one doctor say to the other on Saturday night, no, there's no blockages on the scans.
Well, that's encouraging.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's good, but you get on with it, It's when it was always a tough time. I know my mother always used to say to me, just think, 5 years from now, nobody will worry or care about this.
Yeah,
it really is true. Things.
We're
really resilient human beings. We get through things.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
This ain't the first time we've been dealt with stuff like this, and probably not going to be the last. So we get on with it. It's what it is. My girls have been very supportive. One of them's kind of far away now. She's 3.5, 4 hours away. But Lindsay, who's a nurse, she actually came by tonight, picked up some stuff to run down.
Yeah.
I said, you probably got more of a chance of getting to see Tammy with 2 little kids, and you are a nurse, so show them your nurse ID at the door or something, your hospital ID, But, obviously when you have a COVID lockdown, nobody, you shouldn't be allowed in. There can't be favorites there.
No.
About that. That's a serious thing,
No, and that's the reality, right? Like in these times, if you do get sick, if you have to go to a hospital, like even recently, this is not on the same level, but Stephanie fell and outside playing basketball a couple weeks ago, broke both her front teeth. Okay, adult teeth, and she had to go to the dentist, and then she had to go get an X-ray to make sure. She basically broke her fall with her face. I'm not gonna lie. So she's fine, but that night had to go to emerge. All these controls are in place because of COVID, and she's crying because like Heather and I both can't go. She wants Daddy to go. I said, let Mom go with you. Like if it wasn't COVID, I would have gone with. The three of us would have gone. And it's such a minor thing compared to what Tammy's going through. But these things just affect families where we can't get in to see our family because of what's going on in the world. And it is a big deal. I agree, Jim, 100%. And I've just about had it up to here with people saying otherwise. But when we need to go get treatment, it's really hard right now because we all can't be with our loved ones because of what's going on in this world right now, and it's tough. So,
well, my buddy Brian, when he called me tonight to find out what was going on, he was on the way home, and I said to him, "Well, when I looked in the ambulance when the ladies were here, the paramedics on the Saturday, I said I couldn't believe all the crap, the stuff, the wires and the whatever's. I don't know anything about it, but I couldn't believe all the stuff." And he said he had a guy that they were with today. And he said, I was fighting to save his life for 40 minutes while we drove him to the hospital. absolutely fighting. He said, doing everything that my 30 years as a paramedic knew how to do. And he said, we got him out at the hospital. And he said, when I went back out and I looked in the van, and he said, there is bottles, like syringes. He said there was he rhymed off a whole bunch of things. I don't know what they were. If you're a paramedic, you would know. And he said, it took him 15 minutes to safely dispose of all the stuff that he had used to save this guy's life.
Wow.
And then and he was still alive. And like he said, when we got him to the hospital, there was 5 or 6 ambulances in front of them. And fortunately, because they're in really good contact and talking about what's going on, he went to the front of the line. But to get a doctor's care and all the ER nurses and everything. But it's a real scary thing. And I can tell when Brian phones me when he has a tough day at work. And this stuff plays on these people. He said, I'm in there because it's a respiratory thing. He said, I'm full on PPE, everything that exists, the masks, the shields, gloves, the double coats to go over them, everything. And he said, today wasn't too bad because it wasn't really hot. But he said, if that would have been a summer day, he said he's had days where he's hyperventilated and had to just sort of take a few seconds and sit back up and get his composure back. And he's trying to save your life, and he's having a hard time just functioning with all this crap on because of COVID. Yeah. It's very, very real, and it seems to be the people that haven't been affected by it are the ones that are doing all the chirping, and it's just.
I think that I know that more people picked up fishing rods during COVID because they had more time on their hands. I hope that more people continue with those fishing rods for their own mental health for what's going on in this world. And I hear about people and Jim, the examples you're giving about helping these people that are they're in a bad physical and mental state of mind, right? And they need a fishing rod. They need to find something that they can get out to, and they can be in a better space, and we need more of that, and let's hope that stuff can kind of continue as we get through this.
Yeah, and as we're all in the going ice fishing, we're going into shacks and shelters with friends. We got to be honest with each other too. Like, are you vaccinated? We need to, you need to know who you're going to spend that day in that tiny little tent with, right? All day. So this is important. It's, it's not just your pride. You gotta ask these questions because there's, you got family, you got friends. It's as contagious as a cold now. It's as contagious as a cold.
100%. Well, speaking of cold, we are at and past our hour. I dare say next week we will tackle the upcoming HardWater season a little bit more. We have talked about Flasher, a little bit about electronics. Next week we'll get into some of the lines we should be using, what kind of rods we should be using, as well as some new presentations, some new things that folks might be really itching to try for the first time, because I know there's a lot of new products with all these folks out making plastics and various other products. There's a lot of new stuff
that's wild how that's become what it is now.
Huge. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, one more thing I want to say thanks to everybody from CFN for all the wishes and messages and stuff. Much appreciated.
Awesome. Love you, buddy.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, Kyle. I love you too.
Yep.
Yeah, we're there for you, man, as always.
Well, listen, I can't think of a better way to end it just like that. Jim definitely usually always has the last word every conversation I've ever had with him. So on that note,
I'm insulted.
There it is.
I was giving you respect. I was giving you pride.
Now I'm offended that you're trying to defend me being insulted.
We'll dive into the HardWater season next week. I guarantee you, and I promise you that. If there are any things, any comments or suggestions or anything that you want to see us talk about, by all means, there are 4 of us here. Reach out to us. Make sure that we make it a part of the discussion so that we can answer whatever questions you may have. But until then, I bid Lawrence, Jay, and you, Jim, farewell, and we'll keep in touch and have yourselves a great week.
Awesome. Take care, kiddies. Be safe,
everyone.
Great
See you
job,
later,
Scotty. Thanks, everyone.
Peace.